This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.
All right, so let me the cynical one in me. I got to have a little fun with you on this one. So we all kind of thought that Danny Crossman would be the first guy axed, right? And then Josh Boyer would be second. I personally don't think Josh Boyer did a bad job, by the way. I think his defense kept him in every game, but that's just me. Okay, but again, he inherited these guys, so you figure he's going to make some changes. Like any businessman that gets a new business, they start making changes. So Crossman is still there, and you fire Josh Boyer. I'm getting the feeling now, the cynical one in me now, okay? And then you tell me, Mr. Polar Bear, if you feel the same way, that he has already his eye on like he has made contact with that coach, and that's already in the works where he doesn't have Danny Crossman's replacement yet, and that's why he hasn't fired him yet.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, we know this team wanted Vic Fangio. I heard you guys mentioning him at the end of your previous segment with Marcel Louis-Jacques. And as our Omar Kelly reported back then when he was still with us, that was the guy that really that same day when Mike McDaniel was hired that people were linking to the defensive coordinator job. And then in the end, Josh Boyer was retained. Something fell through with between the Dolphins and Vic Fangio. So I would say he would be at the top of the list if you can get him, and if maybe behind the scenes that communication has already begun to take place. And I'm not sure if I would have. I was kind of thinking Boyer was going to be the first one to go, and then maybe Crossman, just kind of off the checklist, going defense first, and then finding your special teams coordinator. But what was your reasoning behind that?
No, but I just talked about that before you came on. That maybe he released the defensive coordinator first because it's a lot harder and more competitive on a defensive coordinator than maybe a special teams coach. And maybe
right, that's what I would say. Yeah, the competition, you don't want the top candidates to go elsewhere, find their next landing spot. So, yeah, that's why I would have felt this order, if it will indeed fall that way.
Now, if you're looking it up, besides Fangio and Lovie Smith, what are some of the other guys that could be available? Have you been able to start to unearth any of those names?
Yeah, no, I'm trying to a little early in the process, but Lovie Smith would be another name I thought of. I know Evero from the Broncos. He's kind of up for some head coaching jobs, so I don't know if he would make a lateral move per se, defensive coordinator. Now a different defense that you get to coach, and Bradley Chubb over here. So I think that would be something that he might like. I don't know him personally, but something to look out for. So. I mean, very early in this process, this just got done about an hour ago. So now we move on to that phase in the coming days.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what direction that they end up going in. What did you read into the Bevel thing? Is it more about, well, I wasn't offered the kind of job that would make me successful as an offensive coordinator because Washington and the Jets don't have a quarterback, so I'll wait for a real opportunity to be an offensive coordinator? Or does he really love it here and he wants to stay here? I don't know. You tell me.
There's probably some combination of things. Daryl Bova has been an offensive coordinator in the NFL for 15 seasons. He's coached some of the best quarterbacks. So, he's got the resume to eventually get back into the OC ranks. And then, obviously, he's got aspirations to one day be a head coach. He has said as much late in the season when I asked him about that, because he's been up for jobs. He's been an interim head coach at his previous 2 stops. So he's got a world of experiences. Coached some of the best quarterbacks. He saw the development that Tua Tagovailoa made under him this season. He worked with Trevor Lawrence when he was a rookie last year, Matthew Stafford, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre. So, I mean, the guy's resume is loaded. So I don't think he would have to go for that kind of OC job right off the bat just because it came to him after a year as a quarterbacks coach here.
Yeah, that's kind of the impression I got, that you don't have a quarterback, and right now at least you're working with a quarterback that will keep your resume nice and fat. So you come back next year, Tua stays healthy for a whole year, you're going to put up one hell of an offense and all kinds of historic numbers and all that for the franchise. And that'll continue to set you up and wait for that opportunity where you actually, I mean, there's a guy that's worked with Russell Wilson and Brett Favre and all these kind of guys. He knows, man. He knows if he goes to an offense, even when the Jets, who have weapons, but they have no quarterback, it still makes it such a hard job for anybody out there. So I don't blame him for waiting for that opportunity. So here's what I got to ask you. If somehow or another he can survive this year, do you think Mike McDaniel at one point, if he's able to have success by calling plays, that he finally takes that step back and lets the offensive coordinator so that way he can kind of be the head coach throughout? Or do you think his love for play calling will be something that will be very Andy Reid-ish?
Yeah, that'll be a big decision for him to make, because I think he kind of had to learn the hard way in his first year as a head coach that it's a tough combination to do that for the first time and also call plays for the first time, because he was indeed a first-time play caller. He wasn't doing that last year as offensive coordinator for the 49ers and kind of following that Kyle Shanahan way of doing things where Shanahan was calling plays over there. So I think he gave it a shot. I guess he'll have to reassess if that's the way he wants to continue going, or if he's better suited just managing the whole operation from a head coach perspective and seeing if he can improve it in that regard. So, I mean, I think he does have a love for play calling. He is this creative, innovative mind, whiz kid, all those phrases that we've used for him. So I think he wants to sort of flex that when he can, and sometimes maybe too much to his own detriment when he's trying to get that perfect play call. And like we saw in the wild card game, he's late to get it in, and you end up with some costly delay of game penalties or burning timeouts to avoid them, or rushing your key plays. So he's going to have to learn how to balance all those things out.
Yeah, he sucked pretty much on game days, bro.
Yeah.
Seriously. I mean, dude, you're gouging the Bills and the Packers for 7 and 9 yards a carry, and the short downs come and you continue to pass and fail. Just the Gesicki stuff. Like, you were so hard-headed that you couldn't find. I mean, if you're a really good offensive coordinator, you find a way to use the guy for the year, and then you go get the guy that fits, what you do or whatever. I can understand that. I can understand if you got to go find the guy that's complete to sell your offense. But for the time being, you saw in that last month, bro, Gesicki, all he did was make plays for you, and he could have been doing that all year long. And by the way, make Tua's life a little easier too.
Right. That part was discouraging to see, that you thought, okay, he could adjust to whatever he does have, which is what any good offensive coordinator, any good head coach, really any football coach should be able to do is, work with the tools that you do have at your disposal and not just work with what fits what you do. So that was an area where he wasn't able to fulfill that duty when he had a talent, really a talent like Mike Gesicki, and wasn't able to display his talents on the field the way we had seen he's capable under previous coaching staffs, which weren't as adept offensively. And so that was one disappointment for sure.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. And by the way, I know you asked about I'm pretty sure it was you that asked about taking chances on injured players. Am I correct?
Right. Yeah, to Chris Greer.
Yeah. Because I know the voices. So he had a great comeback, but what was your reaction to it? Because it's hard to argue, who took what's it called, Frank Gore off the board. Yeah, he was injury prone from high school to college. And then, he went on to have a hell of a career. Willis McGahee, he did the same thing. Kevin Fagan blew out a knee. And then obviously Chris Greer talked about his dad, getting the running back, Curtis Martin, who was always injured at Pitt. And then he got to the NFL and was a freaking workhorse. So, and by the way, I did the homework on this. The injured players that were on the IR. Austin Jackson wasn't really injury prone. Myles Gaskin's not injury prone. Brandon Jones not injury prone. Byron Jones wasn't injury prone. Nick Needham wasn't injury prone. Trill Williams wasn't injury prone. It's really all about Tua, Teron, and Chubb. Really, overall, most of the guys that were on the IR weren't really injury prone guys. It was really more about Tua, Teron, and Chubb. And Teron and Chubb ended up even playing, at least in the playoff game. So, what did you think about the response that they gave you, which was a pretty good one? But then at the same time, it is a concern if you are taking chances on injured guys.
Right. Yeah, I thought it was a very fair response, and I asked the question because I think it is on a lot of people's minds. It's not necessarily like my
Of
opinion
course.
is he should just. You have to look into every player's injury history and base your decisions. Not entirely, but close to that. But yeah, I mean, I felt it was fair. There are a lot of stories, anecdotal evidence of players who overcame an injury history and then went on to have very long, successful careers. And obviously, a lot of other examples, like you mentioned, a bunch that got hurt this year that it wasn't necessarily because you could forecast it due to injury history. It just it's a rough game and things like that happen. So, yeah, basically, his response was, you can't do this scared. You can't make your decisions scared. You can run away from decisions. And hey, also at the same time, you can find some bargains when you're looking for some of these guys that are perceived to be injury prone, and bank on that they could turn that around and change that perception and remain healthy, and you could get good deals out of that. And suddenly they become guys that are playing all season for you. So yeah, there's definitely a balance. I think you have to find a balance there for sure.
Yeah, I remember the Dolphins signing Brent, the guy that was married with the Brent Grimes. Brent Grimes was coming off an Achilles injury and ended up becoming a really good player for them. I know the other stuff that was, it's a problem, but it wasn't really Brent Grimes the issue, when he was playing for the Dolphins. But there's a guy that was coming off an Achilles injury as a corner. And so let me ask you now, with Tua, are you in agreement of going forward with Tua? And if you're not in agreement, how do you replace him?
Yeah, I'm definitely in agreement of giving him this year. He's got the year under contract, so you definitely want to play it out. I'm a little iffy on giving him an extension. I wouldn't do that right now because we have seen he hasn't been able to get through an entire year healthy. So that's a concern. I think you want to see him do that this upcoming season. And yeah, I would say with the way he performed this year, the 25 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. By the way, the last 3 interceptions, he was playing concussed. And so
Right.
he had really 5 interceptions when he was really himself there on the field. And led the league in passer rating, yards per attempt. Yeah, based on performance, yeah, I definitely want to see Tua continue to blossom under this offense and with these weapons, and then definitely give him this year. I don't know if I would go with that 5th year option just because of that. You want to maintain flexibility, but then you'll see this year for sure if he will be a long-term solution, which if he can get through it healthy. And really the only injury concern was the head trauma, the concussions this year. There had been just a lot of other body parts that he had suffered injuries to, and really everything else he got through okay. The only thing that kept him off the field were those concussions and the protocols. So if you now get him a new helmet or instruct him on new ways to be able to keep
Get rid of
himself
the
upright
ball.
or fall.
Get
a certain
rid
way.
of the ball.
Yeah, and get rid of the ball.
Rid
That's
of
right.
the
That's right.
ball. It's not the new
Because the
helmet.
Cincinnati one was definitely, yeah, yeah. The
Bro, they're
Cincinnati
all
one he could have avoided it.
David,
Yeah,
go back and time his
yeah,
hip. Go time the 2 ankle injuries. Go time
yeah.
the Cincinnati one, and go time the Green Bay one. They're all 4 to 5 seconds, bro. All of them. There's one of them that's 3.81 seconds. The rest of them are over 4, and they get to 5.1 seconds. Bro, get rid of the ball. That's all he has to learn how to do. Get rid of the ball. All his major injuries come from holding it 4 seconds or more. And you do that, bro. That's Ryan Tannehill football. You can't do that in the NFL. and he can't do that. Now, I want to walk you through a scenario because you're not sure about the fifth year option. You say you don't want to give him the extension, which that's understandable. But let me run a scenario by you that says you have no choice. You have to give him the fifth year option. All right, here we go. And follow me. Maybe I'm wrong on this. Okay, if you allow him to play this season out, then you're going to have to tag him for the fifth year. And then you have to then negotiate a long-term contract. And then that long-term contract, you then can boot that year out, and then it'll start in the fifth year. But now you started the big contract there. But if you gave him the $22.5 million guaranteed in the year 5, he does ball out in year 4, you've locked him in on year 5 on a really cheap number as it is. You can actually renegotiate that fifth year to add it to the extension and lower that price if you felt like it, and still give him the extension because obviously he would have performed in year 4 already. So I think that you're better off tagging him no matter what, because $22 million really, even if he only plays 12 or 14 games that year, it's still more productive and better than most quarterbacks as it is. You know what I'm saying? And I think what Chris was trying to say to us was, well, look at Teron Armstead. He's had one hell of a career, but he's also dealt with injuries all the time. But everybody wants to keep him on the team because when he's playing, he's an incredibly important asset to the team. And as you've seen it in the locker room, with the media, with and then as a player. So obviously he's like a multi faceted what's it called, weapon for the team, because he helps you in leadership, he helps you as a player, and obviously he helps you on the field, so you can deal with some of those games off. As long as you get most of the games on the field, you're going to get great production from the guy. So it's one of those two things. So you're David Furones, now the general manager of the Miami Dolphins, and you're in that catch-22 with Tua. How do you do it? Do you just ride out year 4 and then tag him after if you have to? Or do you go with the fifth year option to save your ass just in case?
Yeah, I mean, my initial thought is just ride out year 4. You make a very strong case, though, for that fifth year option, especially because it is at the 22 number instead of what it could have gone up to, which is the 27 range, had he been a Pro Bowler this year. And he really did have a Pro Bowl caliber season. Just a matter of, okay, and he was tops in the fan vote. I guess a lot of player vote, maybe some coach vote didn't go his way, and obviously he's in a stacked AFC where Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, and Joe Burrow got the nod for those 3 spots, and he's going to be the first alternate, which basically he's going to be a Pro Bowler because those 3 quarterbacks are 3 of the 4 remaining AFC quarterbacks. So unless Trevor Lawrence upsets everyone and gets to the Super Bowl, then Tua Tagovailoa is automatically a Pro Bowler, and that number still stays at the 22 figure for not getting in on the first.
He broke up there.
So you're not too committed, well, where you're really in a hole if these injuries just continue to become a concern. For the fifth year option, that is not a very hefty price tag at this moment, and could really be beneficial if you do see Tua take the strides that you anticipate going forward.
So David Furones is now going to use the fifth year option, is what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm on the spot here. I was going the entire way thinking I'm just keeping it to the 4th, but you make a decent enough point where you may have on the spot converted me here.
It kind of saves your ass just in case, because if he blows up, you know what Lee Steinberg's going to do.
Right. Right.
We need 160 million guaranteed on a $300 million contract over how many years, and this and that, and whoa. And so now it's like, okay, well, you performed in the 4, we got you on the 5 already, and if you have any issues, then you can tag them on the 6, and you're still controlling. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things where, but you don't even want to get to the tag, and you don't want to get to that. You don't want to be put with the gun to your head for that deal. Like, oh, you performed year 4, you didn't tag him on 5. Now you've got to give him that big fat contract. At least 5 can be a bumper for that. You know what I'm saying?
And it
that
shows you have confidence in him. And based on Chris Greer's answers about not being scared of a player's injury history, then if you're consistent with that, then yeah, you would go ahead and do that for your quarterback that you
that's a
drafted.
great point, dude. That's a fantastic point on your part right there.
Mhm.
That is a fantastic point because by him saying that, it kind of tells you that, yeah, they'll probably tag his ass for that 5th year because you just got to protect yourself, man, just in case. I remember when people freaked out, and I was never a fan of the kid. I never believed in him. But when they gave Ryan that contract of $17 million per year, dude, that was the market at that time. That was true. And now the market is 40, bro. So you're gonna, if he balls out or if he has a good year, you're gonna have to overpay him no matter what at that
And all
point.
of a sudden, that figure's looking like a bargain. So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. Follow him on Twitter. It's always a bargain because you don't have to pay anything. At David Furones _ and catch his exceptional work in the Miami Dolphins on a daily basis for the South Florida Sun Sentinel. David, thank you, my brother. Have a fantastic weekend. We really appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Thank you. Glad I could join you on this walk through the neighborhood trying to get connection. And although you still couldn't see it because my camera wasn't on.
It's all good. You're a black polar bear in a dark room this time around. We'll get you on video next time. All right, bro. Be good.
Yeah, I'll make sure to get that right.
You got it. There you go. Good stuff. David Furones, man, getting it done. You don't get